as you just after the last game, did you sort of go back and sort of with the film, and was there anything in it that you saw that maybe wasn't readily apparent after the game?
It was very apparent where our issues were. We didn't take care of basketball, and we didn't deal with the zone very well in that particular game. But you know, going back and working in practice, I think we are addressing so why we were that way, and hopefully it'll pay off when we come to play again.
And I think we asked you after that game, just who is this Husky team? Is it the one that started 11-0, or is it the one now that's lost these three games here?
Well, in the first half of Cal, it was the one that was 11-0. In the second half, it wasn't. In the Stanford game, defensively, it was the same team. Offensively, we, due to foul trouble, we played with some different combinations, and we didn't do a very good job with that. And with Jannard and Sean in the first half, and sit out, I think that contributed a little bit to kind of how we were playing. And then Nigel was back for a little while. So with us, we didn't do a good enough job in their absence of continuing to do what we're supposed to do. There are other games where we've been able to get shots and did not. Now this game, we weren't efficient. We weren't as efficient as we needed to be. And I said afterwards, I thought we played enough to win, well enough to win the game in regulation, because like some other games when we were 11-0, we didn't necessarily shoot the ball well, but our defense sustained us. And I thought that was the case in the Stanford game.
What have you seen in practice in terms of a response after Sunday?
We've been fine. We've been trying to review and help our guys understand more of exactly what our purpose is offensively. There's been some slippage there, and I think by Saturday we would have made progress to get it back to where it was.
And obviously all games are important, but just kind of where you are in this season, you've dropped 3, now you're at home sort of, and I'm sure there'll be the fans or the students are back in school, and I'm sure there'll be a big push to really get this place really going on Saturday. How important is this game on Saturday then, just to maybe to get back to playing the way that you would like to see these guys play?
Well, the answer may sound like a cliche, probably is, but it is accurate. It is a home game. It is a Pac-12 game. It is our next game. So it's very, very important. But, next week, if you ask me that question, I'm going to give you the same answer, because I always say each game brings its own unique challenge. And let's go back to Stony Brook. Well, how important is this game? If you say it's not that important, oh, no. Well, that started out this 3-game losing streak. That game was huge. And if I say before the Stony Brook game, it's really important, yeah, well, that's just what you're supposed to say. It really is. So now this game against Washington State, we're 0-2 in conference. So it's very important that we come out and play a highlight.
What did you see from Washington State over the course of this week in reviewing them?
They're a team that's playing with a lot of confidence and a lot of energy. They're a team that's playing like they're having fun. That's what they look like right now.
And bringing that momentum that they've taken from Stanford, from Cal, sorry. You've obviously been a coach for a while here. Talk about taking the momentum from a big road win like they just got into your next game.
You first of all feel like it's possible. We can do this. And maybe I shouldn't even say it's possible, because you felt it was possible before. But we finally did what was necessary to get over the hump. We knew we'd been close. We were close in the Stanford game. If I'm Washington State, that's something. We were close in the Stanford game. We didn't pull it out, but we were right there. This next game, let's finish the game. Well, they did. Now they know they can finish, so you bring that confidence into the next game.
Hey, just like the idea of maybe peaking too soon, of playing really well early on, and what you sort of talked about constantly improving throughout the season. Just how do you sort of go about that now that you guys had a really great start, but are you as good as you were now as you were maybe a few weeks ago?
We were playing, probably with a better offensive flow, even though each game we didn't shoot a really high percentage, but we were nails defensively. And we haven't fallen off a lot defensively, but in the second half against Cal, we just didn't experience many of those when we were 11-0 on the defensive end. We were pretty much nails. If we play Oklahoma and they make the shot at the end instead of missing the shot, then we're talking a different story here. I think we're just inches away from winning in the Stanford game because we guarded and we win that game. Different story. So it alarms me when you're going out and you're playing game after game and teams are shooting a high percentage against you, and we turn the ball over too many times in the last game, but 3-4 game stretch, you're getting beat because you turn the ball over. All those things in a perfect storm, wow, we're really concerned. And we're concerned now because we are turning the ball over too much, but we're still guarded. And a couple things changed in that game. Stanford, we won the game. It's a different story. So we're close. We just got to get that extra edge back. So the first 11 games versus now, I don't think there's a huge difference in our team. I actually think we will weather this storm and come out better.
Did this week, with only having the one game, did that allow you to do anything more, maybe go back to basics or do anything like that?
Yeah, it has a little bit. Remember, we played Sunday. You have to take one day off. It's mandatory because school's back in. So we got in at 2 in the morning, Monday morning. So that day of practice, we talked a lot, reviewed a lot, and that helped. And but we didn't do a whole lot physically. But still, in this week, we have been able to go back to practicing and getting some things better and break down stuff.
Do you ever worry about this, just the idea of maybe being fatigued, just from just everything that they did this summer, and we sort of talked about the benefits of that and just kind of what that did, but maybe sort of like the other side of it is that they've been around basketball for a long time now, and there really hasn't been much break other than that sort of 2 weeks there, so that so now at the time of year when you're almost at the midpoint of the season and practices and bodies and all that stuff here, maybe the idea of
stick with me on this. Seems like I'm going off on a tangent, but I'm not. Semesters versus quarters. Some schools are on semesters, some are on quarters. When I worked at a place where we were on the semesters, we start school at the end of August. And the first time we did it, we started, since we could go in August, we started going earlier with conditioning and saying, well, man, we have all this time with conditioning. Even though we still got 8 hours a week, you finally get to practice. You're in good condition, but there's potential for burnout at that point. The reason I brought that up is those guys were lifting more than they were doing conditioning this summer. We get 2 hours a week with them in the summer on the floor. So it wasn't like from June to September, they're doing this 2-hour grueling conditioning thing every day, and on the basketball floor we're doing 2 days. It wasn't like that at all. It wasn't even like on a foreign tour when you actually get 10 days to practice and you play a game. So although guys were here, there was a level of commitment and guys worked, it was still more in the weight room than it was actually on the basketball court. So I won't be able to say yet that I'm concerned about the burnout.
You mentioned the shooting problems earlier. Is that something you're concerned about at this point, or do you still think that that's going to work itself out?
I had said earlier, if we continue to shoot this poorly, then maybe we're not a good shooting team. So I'm not being stubborn, But I would say it this way, we have definitely not shot the ball well. And I don't know, we definitely, I mean, you look at our three-point field goal percentages, there's only a couple of guys that are right at 40%, but we have not shot the ball well. I don't think I can hide that or mask that. I'm still looking for the day that we come out and we're shooting a decent percentage from the three-point line. And there have been games when we've shot in the 40s as a team. We've played 14, though it hasn't been like 10 of those. Been several.
You mentioned the guys shooting well. One of those is Mike Anderson. What does he do for you on the offensive side of the floor?
Mike takes good shots. That's one of the reasons he's shooting right at 40% from the three. Sometimes you can take bad shots and the percentage goes way down. He takes pretty good shots from the three. He is also a facilitator. You know, he can penetrate the lane and pass it off. He has a positive assist turnover ratio. He's doing those things. And then you can't just overlook his ability to rebound the ball on the offensive end either. He's aggressive. He doesn't shoot it as much as we would like. We'd like him to be more aggressive and take more open shots. But I would just say he's steady.
Hey, and so with Kent at Wazoo, is his team starting to look like the old Oregon teams, or not quite there yet?
He had Luke Jackson, Luke Ridnour, and Freddie Jones, all first-round draft choices on his team at one point. And then later he had Aaron Brooks and, I mean, even a guy that never played the NBA like Tawan Porter, who could just fill it up. I mean, he had those guys in terms of his personnel. Conceptually, what they're trying to do, you can see Ernie Kent's footprint on that team. But I think as they continue to grow, that team is going to get even better. What they're doing, again, Ernie is very positive, and he's positive with his teams, and his teams play that way. You can see that all over that Washington State team right now.
He said something earlier this week, sort of in reference to you, about being at one place for a long time. He said that people at the beginning, they love you, they appreciate you, and then after a while they just begin to tolerate you. Have you felt any of that?
I think wherever you go, you know, you have to, in some cases, reinvent yourself, and in other cases, the expectations, I don't want to say people take it for granted. I know in his case, they went to the Elite Eight twice. Never, ever has anyone ever done that before he got there. Ever. Not come close. And, you know, to hear, you know, somebody have something negative to say, yeah, they had down years, but sometimes in that situation, you got to live with some of the down years because you knew every 4 or 5 years they were going to make a run in the tournament. I saw that happen over there with them, and I've seen other situations where, you know, sometimes people get accustomed to you playing at a certain level and feel like if it ever dips, it's unacceptable. You kind of sign up for that when you're a head coach. That's just how it is. Sometimes people think like you feel like it is acceptable to take a dip as a head coach. It's not acceptable for me either. So I understand that. I understand how the fans are. I understand how people feel that every year should be at a high level, and it's not acceptable if it isn't. I understand how that